The Oklahoma Commission on the Status of Women welcomes you to the panel discussion on human trafficking in Oklahoma. Our next two panelists, Rose Turner and Lori Gonzalez, both of whom work at Domestic Violence Intervention Services. Rose Turner has her master's in social work and is currently working Domestic Violence Intervention Services as the Vice President of Clinical Programs and Services. Lori Gonzalez has worked for Domestic Violence Intervention Services since 2002. Over to you, Rose and Lori.
So as we discussed and Melissa mentioned, a lot of times individuals maybe don't even acknowledge that human trafficking occurs in your very own community, and many reasons for that. With a lot of social service issues that we deal with, individuals want to say, oh, that happens to those people, because if it's those people, that takes it outside of your own circle of activity, and so then it doesn't seem quite as threatening. But human trafficking is very alive and real within Oklahoma and many of our communities. Polaris is an organization that was created in 2002 to address human trafficking within the U.S. And they report that there are 25 million people trafficked worldwide each year. Now, we know this doesn't capture everyone. And the International Labor Organization of Human Trafficking, it's really known as the modern day slavery, and is the second largest criminal activity in the world. It is $150 billion industry a year. That is just incredible. Because as Melissa pointed out, there's sex trafficking and labor trafficking. All together, it is human trafficking. People don't want to think that can happen within their community. Within the National Human Traffic Hotline, according to the 2019 Federal Human Trafficking Report, more than 48,000 individuals reached out to that hotline, which again is incredible. It takes a lot to reach out, which is also one of the reasons why there may be some underreporting, because to reach out, you have to deal with your own maybe fear and guilt and shame, and it's not easily acknowledged with first interactions with helping agencies or helping individuals. So if we go on to the Oklahoma data specifically, which was gathered from the Polaris organization, as of the end of 2019, the National Hotline, National Human Trafficking Hotline provided the following information. Within Oklahoma, there were 328 contacts. That involved 109 cases. And within those cases, there were 207 victims. So you can see there can be multiple victims just within one case. Those individuals were exposed to sex trafficking. 77 of those reported that. Not specified were 12. 5 of those included both sex and labor trafficking. And then specific to labor trafficking, only 15. But again, we feel like this is very underreported because it takes a lot to come forward and tell an individual that, hey, I think I'm being trafficked. There's a lot of fear and threats surrounding that. I'll hand it on over to Lori to talk further about data collection.
As with any interpersonal violent crime, we're going to see just the tip of the iceberg. And there's a couple of reasons that are like the top reasons why we may not get a clear understanding of how many people are being trafficked. One of those reasons is the fact that there are a lot of people out there that don't consider themselves as people who've been trafficked. We see lots of people who are trafficked by a partner, and that's not the normal narrative, we'll say, that's out there. The general public just doesn't see that, and it's not part of the way we look at what human trafficking is. So there's lots of people out there that won't identify themselves as being trafficked, and they fall through the cracks. One of the other things that happens is people who are being trafficked may seek resources through different entry points, we'll say. So they may go to the hospital, they may go to Planned Parenthood to get care. They may be at the jail. So sometimes people may get counted more than once just because they've had so many entry points. So it is very difficult to get a clear, concise number of how many people we are seeing here in Oklahoma. The other issue is the lack of resources. We have 3 certified programs here in Oklahoma. And you'll notice that they're in the major cities. One is in Oklahoma City, Dragonfly, and the other 2 are in the Tulsa area. So DVIS, where I'm from, and then the Spring, where Leslie is from. And so we have a very small group of people that can cover all 77 counties. And that is really difficult to make sure that we are able to take care of all the people in our community that needs it. So consider the difficulty if you've been trafficked and you're in the Panhandle. Where do you get resources? Does that mean they have to go into Texas or New Mexico or someplace like that? Or do we have to have them travel all the way across the state to get to Oklahoma City or Tulsa? And then we have a little bit more resources for juveniles, but they have to be accessed through law enforcement or DHS. And these are very difficult programs to get into because there's a lack of resources. We need to be working on helping other agencies get certified. That means supporting agencies that maybe serve domestic violence survivors or sexual assault survivors and helping them get certified so that they can provide more services, so that there's a better broad opportunities and more resources for people to have out there.
The other challenging piece would be that in order to provide services to these individuals, we need to have service providers have in-depth trauma-informed training, because the complexities related to this type of work are incredible. You peel back the layers of one issue, then another presents, all while dealing with the horrendous trauma that someone has suffered. So getting individuals trained appropriately to deal with whatever arises with the individual who could experience this. So developing more resources, more of a centralized data base so that we could accurately reflect that, and dealing with people with dignity and respect in a trauma-informed way.
I know there's some talk about allowing agencies to provide services to human trafficking, or those people who've experienced human trafficking. So allowing people that are not certified to provide those services. I personally have some fear in that, just because when a group is certified, it means that there's some oversight. There's an expectation that best practices are used, that the person who's been victimized, their needs are met. So that certification program is really huge and it's important.